Happy Thursday, everybody. As you can tell, sinuses are great, and technical issues have been resolved. So, I had a little slight issue with some of the, did an installation of a Autodesk software, and it definitely wreaked havoc on my solid state drive. Found out I had a couple of little Windows software setups that were not quite working out right. But other than that, so got the computer back up and running. Good thing I imaged or cloned the drive, so I was able to back it up to a previous area. We got that straight and all done up. So anyway, what we're going to be playing with today is we're going to do some cartoon character drawing. No sound. That's funny. I'm showing sound on my side. Are you getting music? Let me see here. There should be sound to it. Test, test, test. Let me open up my thing and take a peek. One moment. Let's see. Test, test. Yeah, I'm getting sound on my side. Yep, I'm getting sound here on my side, so might have to check your systems. I'm definitely good and up and running on this. So, anyhow, how you doing, Fronto Man? Sorry you're not getting any sound right now on it. Might have to try and refresh or check it out and see what's going on with it. But I'm getting, on my life, I just checked it out from an external source, so I'm getting sound on my area. So, but anywho, I hope you guys had a good day. I hope you had a good Tuesday, Wednesday, this past weekend. Hopefully everything went well on it. Mine went pretty well. We've had some pretty good times on it. Of course, my sinuses are definitely all cleared up. Had a little bit of snafu with the computer for this system. But other than that, we're back together. We're going to play with some cartoon characters today. And then if we got some extra time, we're going to play with some of the gesture drawings that I did to end up going from just a gesture to actually creating a character out of that gesture and costuming him and stuff. Like we did this one. This was one that I worked on also for a space outfit or for like a futuristic pilot, like in their little chair. It's got their setup for that. And then I was working on this one today. This is a guy kind of trying to do like a future, a little bit of a cyberpunk. But other than that, it wasn't too bad. My bad, I had the sound muted. That's okay, it happens. Technical difficulties all around this week. So this one we're kind of working, I did a gesture drawing of a guy basically just jogging and stuff, and then I decided to try an outfit of him, of kind of a futuristic kind of look that I'm kind of putting in together, kind of like a sci-fi, a little bit of cyberpunk, but I don't want it to look too grungy. I kind of been noticing a lot of the futuristic stuff and sci-fi stuff that he's been having. It's been a little bit too gritty and gnarly, and like everybody's got to be like in tattered clothes and stuff, that you're seeing less and less of some of the neat what could be the future. So I'm trying to come up with some neat new characters, original characters that match that up. So anyway, what we're going to play with today is we're going to do something with, let me open up my PDF viewer. These are called model sheets, as you can see that I just put up here. This is a simple one that was from Mickey Mouse Works. It was kind of done in the 90s, 2000, or I think it was the 90s area time that they did it. It was called Mouse Works. And I think it became the Mickey Mouse, the House of Mouse or something. That is what they ended up using a lot of it with. But they basically kind of cleaned up Mickey, Pluto, Minnie, and Goofy and stuff. But they did model sheets where you can see like the height comparisons and everything to it as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to play with some of those. Let me see if I can click over there. And then we'll flip through some of it. Like here's Donald, Daisy, and of course... Professor, I forgot his name for the Professor Ludwig von Drake. And of course, here's more size comparisons and stuff. But these are model sheets that actual animators would use, so that way they knew the proper heights for animating him. And of course, this is a turnaround area, as you can see, for Mickey Mouse, where you can see him from each side. And remember, like I was saying, when we did Mickey Mouse previously, and I modeled them, how the ears always are at an angle There's never like there's only one. They're always either this way or that way or that way on the head. And that's how it matches to these model sheets. And that way everybody knows how Mickey's supposed to look from all angles. And here's some simple little poses that they did for him and stuff, so you can kind of get some more of his mannerisms and stuff. And this is how to do dialogue for, as you can see, for when they bring in the voiceovers and stuff, the person that would actually voice Mickey and stuff, this would match the certain sounds that you'd have. So, and of course that's the angry one, different mouth shapes he would do, and then of course different expressions. So this is actually great because these actually can show you how they kind of broke it down to where you can work on doing different expressions, especially if you're having trouble with certain things and the whole body looks like it's a little bit too much to have for you. Or with this, we'll use some of these expressions to kind of set it up. So here we go. Got my pencil set up. Actually, hold on a second. Now I got my pencil set up. Got my glove on. And we can work on with some of these expressions. We'll do some with Mickey and stuff here, as you can see. They kind of do use a little bit of squash and stretch, but generally you can see the basic shapes from him. You have his basic ball for the head, for the main structure of it, and then it has the two ovals for the ears like we've done all the others. So we'll do a little bit of warm-up, and we'll use Mickey as our warm-up to go through it. And let's see, do I want to use... yeah, what the heck, we'll use one of these pages. Don't worry about it, we'll use one of these pages and just make it work instead of grabbing a sketch pad. So, and of course I'm going to do a little bit more, I'm going to do a little bit darker on my lines and stuff so that way you guys can see it, but typically it would be a little bit lighter. You can use any pencil you want. These are just, this has a pencil extender on it, but this is just a regular two bold pencil. And this was my mechanical pencil that I've been using a lot lately. But you can use any number 2 pencil, anything you want. It doesn't have to be anything special or anything fancy. It doesn't have to be any fancy paper. You can use regular printer paper if you want. So, if you guys come in, sorry I'm a little buzzed because we just got done doing my taxes and everything like that. So we all tax time. So we got that all done and that's all finished. That's one thing down. Don't have to worry about that now. So let's go ahead and do a Mickey head. So we'll do a nice oval. And you want to get to where you're not doing this over and over again, these circles like I'm doing a lot of here, but it's good to practice so that way when you do one you don't have to do like all those lines. You can just kind of go like this and you'll have one line. Now that one won't show up because it's light, but I can kind of push it in there to where you can see it. There you go, a little bit of it. But that's for you guys to see. This is just, let me clear that one off. But anyway, I just did this to where it'll darken it in a little bit more than what I'm used to. But anyway, so you want to have a nice little circle for Mickey's head. We'll start with the one on the top left here if you want to follow along. And we're going to basically grid it out to make it into a ball. So what we first want to do is we notice that his head isn't straight on, it's to the side. So the center point here is, as you see, as I'm turning my head, it kind of goes to the corners. So we're going to do the same thing. Being Mickey's eyes are off to one side because he's almost sort of like a profile, we're going to have it follow the same curvature here for the top portion of it. And then you'll notice how his eyes, the bottom eye level, the center of the eye goes directly, like it runs directly across. Like if you were to cut it straight across, it would be that. But because it's got a curve on it, you can kind of go like this if you need help figuring out, like there's that. So you're going to want to curve the ball to where it feels like it's 3D. So we'll do that. Okay. And I'll just take out this middle line so you guys don't have all that for confusion anymore. But that's just so if you need help to be able to kind of make sure you hit it down and up, so that way you have a nice ball orb looking piece to it. Real simple, not too crazy. And you'll notice that his ears are almost like at a 90. If you'll notice when you see it, it goes like it almost has a 90-degree type point for where the center points sit on from that. So if you wanted to, you could actually map this to the center, same thing to the center, and then you have your center point here and here for Mickey's ears. So from here you can do your ovals. So they're going to be kind of flattened. So you can do it that way. And you can turn it and you can do it that way, whatever way is easier for your hand to be able to make it work. And we'll take it to that point and we'll use that for the center area and we'll do ovals. Now you notice it's got a little bit of a flat spot on it that's near his head. So that's the reason why I'm kind of overlapping it, because it's going to be called, it's called like grounding. You see how this one didn't really overlap? We want to overlap it a little bit. So we also, of course, we also want to make sure they're the same size. I kind of made this a little bit smaller. But this is why we map them out. Once you do these, a ton of these left and right of the same character, you get used to having it, to where you don't have to keep mapping back and forth to see which is correct and which one's not. So we'll run them through like this. But this is how we're going to break down so you can see how they do the expressions and stuff. And of course he's got another oval, which is going to be here for his nose. And you'll notice that it kind of runs off the center point here. So we're going to have an oval here as well. So it's going to look like an oval, but we're not going to use part of the oval. So I'll draw the oval in so you can kind of see it. Alright. And then from here, we're going to do his nose, which is another oval. Okay. And of course we'll find his spots for his eyes. So you'll have, here's the area for the center part of the eyes, so we'll bring it up. And then down. It's another oval. And then this side, because of the way the head turns and it rotates, it's going to be slightly narrower than this one. This one's not, it's going to be nearly as fat. So we're going to have it slightly narrower to where it looks like the head's actually curved around. And then from there, we're going to just bring up to this point. And then we'll just do a little spot there because we're going to bring in his eyebrows and stuff that he has for some of his expression. So do that, and we'll go and we'll start to shape him out a little bit more. And from here down, from here, you see how his mouth runs, so that way he's going to have this expression of his mouth kind of open a little bit, almost like he's kind of a little bit of shock, but not quite, sort of like he's puzzled by something or he's questioning something. And of course we're going to use the ball still to put the mouth to where it feels like it's in a round state. Sort of like that. It's going to look sort of like a diamond, but it's going to be rounded out. Okay? And of course you got to have his lips, so you'll have a little bit of thickness here for his lip. And then it'll go to his bottom of his lip and his jaw, bottom of his jaw. It's going to be just like so. So that's going to be kind of straight, and then we'll follow the same thing with the rest of the head. It rolls in. Okay, so now we got this part. Well, this guy gives us a good spot reference point for the way the black part for where you see his cheek and the way it runs up. So we're going to take this and we're going to slowly curl this up, and then we can bring it to his jaw. His jaw runs up to here, so you'll see this is actually his cheek portion, like so. Now up here would be a great spot. You can follow the same line we can use up here for his eyebrows, so we'll know how his eyes are going to run. His eyebrows are going to run up like this. So it's going to come up. And I'm kind of doing it, you don't ever want to do just a straight line. You kind of want to give it a little bit of a curve to everything, so that way it has a nice fluid feel to it. And then we'll bring it up here to, this is the middle point. There's the middle ground, so we can actually bring it to here. So you can kind of get the map laid out. And what we'll do is we'll actually get rid of this flat spot that I created here by actually seeing his cheek that comes up, so we're going to give it a curve out. Okay? So, and of course I gave him too much of a peak here, so we're going to smooth that out a little bit too. So we'll do his eye, bring him a nice smooth curve, and then for this, because this is going to be smaller also, so it's not going to have a wide of a radius to it, you're going to see just a little bit smaller of an area to it. Okay, and of course this eyebrow sticks out or protrudes out on him. That's the reason why this one is going to be in front of the other. So that part where if you look at down here, it looks like an M, where the other part, it has a crease that shows this part is in the foreground to the other one. So it's in front of it. So that's the reason why you do that. And we just kind of follow a little bit of this, of the same line area. It's where you can actually get his eyebrow up there. And then we'll do the same thing here. And we'll basically curl this out and up. Now, his eyebrow for there and his ear, we'll kind of round it out and not make it so pancaked. We'll bring him up, and we don't want to have the lower part, we want to have the upper part here. So we don't want to have the ear look like it's in front. So what we're going to do is we're going to lighten this part up, and we're going to bring the part of his head here is going to go to the front portion of it, because this ear is supposed to simulate that's from the back. So we're going to bring that up. Alright. And as you can see, let me move some of my, whoops, go back to that. And as you can see, even where I did my initial sketch areas, it's going to be a little bit different as I'm actually fleshing the character out. Now even here where this kind of comes through, we want to bring this one up and over, because the ear doesn't run right here on the side of, like on the side of his head. It's going to still show from behind. So we're going to skip that portion, but we're going to use it to where you can still see how the ear comes up and around. And of course we're going to smooth it out a little bit nicer, maybe give a little bit more depth, a little bit more bulk to it, where it doesn't feel so sharp, because Mickey kind of has a soft feel to him. It's the nice thing about it, he's always got that soft, gentle look to him. Okay, now we need to do his eyes, which are basically ovals again. And all I did is I took where his eye level area, because this is the middle point, and I basically kind of split it in half for the how high his pupils should be. Is all I did. I'm getting all sorts of messages. Looks like eBay stuff and everything. So. Alright, so got that. But this is so you guys can see, especially when like animators, when they're drawing Mickey and they haven't done a ton of them, this is what they use to be able to get the feeling of drawing Mickey. So they'll start doing different expressions, but they'll start by doing these expressions and start doing more of the sketch pieces and doing more of the stuff in the sketchbook to where they get Mickey or the character they're working on down pat. They don't have to keep focusing then on the reference, because they'll eventually just be doing so many of them when they did this traditional animation style like this that they didn't need the guidelines anymore, because they had done them so much that they pretty much knew Mickey inside and out, or whatever character they were working on. Darken them in, or increase the lines in there. But this is a good way for you to practice, especially if you're wanting to learn how these animators went and got through all this stuff. They literally did thousands of drawings, thousands, you know. And it was of this character that they had to know from every angle, and that's the reason why they could produce them in such a quick amount. But also you'll notice that the simplicity of the characters and stuff is what also helped out with it. So we'll put a little reflective piece on there, and we might actually just fill it in, but got that. And of course we got his eyes. Can do also just like that. And we'll just do a little sketch in here, so you can get the feel of Mickey a little bit more. Oh, we also don't want to forget his tongue. He's got a little mouth on his tongue. So let's do this. just throw it in just to give a little bit of depth with it. So get my settle down, relax time. Not troubleshooting electronics on aircraft or working on the other business stuff. You know, this is my downtime I get to just enjoy with you guys. So, nice thing is with the kneaded eraser is you can literally go and you can tap on them and you see how it lightens them out to where like you can actually clean up your lines by just doing this if you needed to. See, puts it all in the bottom there. And then what you do is you just kind of massage it and work its way through till you get a nice clean spot again. So now what we can do is we can actually ink them if we want. Maybe I'll just use a brush pen. We'll see how the brush pen turns out. It might look a little funny. Too many sketch pieces, but we can actually get to see how not steady my hand is right now. Move to YouTube. See you there. Okay, Frontier Man, we'll see you on YouTube. But this is the other thing. When the guys, the animators and stuff would do so many of these, they got to the point where they didn't actually have to use. They could just ink them out like this and literally make tons of them to where he matched. I actually put them this way. That way it matches in a more natural curve with the way your arm moves. So we can actually just kind of go. Run them this way. There we go. What if Disney made a Clockwork Orange? Didn't they do Clockwork Orange, or what company did that one? How you doing, Ali, by the way? Or Ali? I haven't seen or talked to you for a little bit. What if Disney made a Clockwork Orange? I remember watching that. It was like wasn't a stop motion animation, I think. They did it, but I can't remember who did that. That's interesting. I'll have to look that up and see. It would be interesting. I haven't seen that movie in a long time though. It was a very, very neat movie. So anyway, let's see here. So we got one expression down. We can see the same thing we did with the circle, we can actually work on with another one. Let's do, I don't know, we went from the top left one. Let's do the bottom center one where he kind of has the one eye squinted down. That'd be a little bit more challenging also. So let's go ahead and we'll hit that one out. So we'll do the same thing we did here where we do a nice circle. So I'm going to see if I can darken it up so you guys can see it. Alright, got the circle. We can do the same thing here where we can actually block it off if we wanted to separate it in the corners. And you'll notice that instead of it being this way, his eye line has a slight angle to it this time around. So it's actually going to have a different axis to it. So this would work for the ears and stuff, but I'm just going to fade it out a little bit with my kneaded eraser so that way it's very lightly in the background. You guys won't be able to see it, but I can see it slightly in the background. So what we'll do is we'll see the way that one eye comes up, almost like from here. We're going to kind of make the circle into the ball. So we're going to go from a 2D object to a 3D object and kind of curl it around. And then we'll do the same thing here where this circle doesn't exactly look like a good circle though. Let's see if we can make it a little bit, round them out a little bit more. kind of a bumpy circle. So we'll round them out, and but we'll use that same area for where the center point was here, and we'll kind of, looks like it kind of runs across. So we'll kind of bring them to where it runs around like that. So clean that part up so you can actually see it a little bit better. There we go. All right. So same thing we're going to do. We got the ears. You notice how the ears have almost the same area you can find for a center point and a center point. So we'll do the same thing there. Give them ovals. We'll do the same thing here. And of course from this point we'll do the same thing with the cylinder. And we got the same cylinder thing for his nose. Or not cylinder, oval. Got an oval and an oval. Sorry about that. Wasn't talking about cylinder, I meant oval. Alright, and then this is going to be a little fun because we're going to have the same type of curl up. And we're going to have the one eye here. This is really going to be the big eye, the one eye that we're going to see. So it looks bigger than the other one, even though the other one's closed. We're going to kind of make it look like he's really got it pointed up there, and we'll do the little half circle. And then from here, we'll have the eye here, and what we'll do off the nose, because it's following the same curve, see if we can give him that squinty look like he's got his eye closed. So this is like the middle, this is where the eyelids touch, and this is like the upper and the lower part. It's basically what it's doing. So, and at the same time, this will help us for the cheek part that we're going to have for it. So we're going to take this, and we're going to run this, and instead of bringing it in like we did with the mouth closed, we're actually going to run it all the way up to where it comes over to here, to where you can actually get that nice big, like, it's almost a smile kind of focusing type area. And that'll give us our basis for how we're going to do the cheek, because see how the cheek point comes there and matches. So we're going to actually take it to where we have a nice curve. So we're going to do the curve. So that's why we rotated it this way, so it matches the curve. If you're right-handed, it'll be the other way around. So we're actually going to go like that, and we're going to flesh that part in. And we're going to bring it in, but we also got to remember he's got a lip down here, so we're going to give him his little lip. So here's the original circle. We're just going to kind of give the overlap there so you can see how the lip runs into it. And being he's got one eyebrow up and one eyebrow down, sort of like he's doing like that whole rock people's eyebrow thing. We're going to use this area here and this center line area to find how it's going to transition up. So we're going to have it down low to this one, and we're going to curve it up to where it finally makes the connection to the center there, and then this is where we're going to rotate it back around. So this way it doesn't look too out of proportion. And of course we got to give it a little bit a little bit of a bump for the eyebrow. So we're going to follow the same curvature of it, and we're going to have it come protrude out a little bit further as well. And then of course we'll add in. And then here, being it shows him he's kind of looking down and he's squinting around, this guy is going to kind of be flattened because his head is kind of like this. It's not towards this way like we did before. It's more like that. Like he's kind of going, really? So that's why I also, like, on my standing desk, I'll bring it down sometimes and stuff, and it has literally a stand with a mirror on it. So if I'm making faces or if I'm looking at things at a certain angle, I can see how stuff splits, especially when you're doing like actual people. But this works with here for stylized characters too, to where you can get some pretty good expressions with it. Okay, so what we're doing is from here, we're going to just bring this, we're going to just kind of mock up a little area here to see how his eye kind of runs up. And it's not going to be as rounded as his cheek, so it's going to be a little bit sharper here. There we go. And of course, we want to show a little bit of thickness to it here as well, so we're going to run that out to where you can see his eyebrows squinted down. And then the rest of it is just kind of following in. You'll see also that it's got the same area where the ears are grounded to the head, so it's not going to be to where they're just touching each other. But we'll... Oh, John Noble, thank you for liking the stream, brother. I appreciate it. So we're going to run it this way. I'll run this on up. And we're going to make it match up. Just like so. And then, his ears are a little bit small on this one, so we're going to make them a little bit bigger than what we had put in there. So we're going to turn this to where we have a nice good curve area to where we can start actually shaping in our curves a little bit better. So we're going to bring this out a little bit fatter. And we're going to take it up and bring them back around. Now I'm just sketching this. That's the reason why I'm kind of going over again. Some people will do it this way and use the whole hand, which is okay. But I'm just kind of sketching in some more detail, so I'm choking it up in the pencil a little bit more instead of having a little bit further out. So we can just do this. There we go. So we got the basic laid out of him right now, so what we'll do is we'll just put this aside. Instead of lightening it up this time, we'll just go ahead and we'll use the brush pen and just kind of quickly brush it in. So we'll give him a little, let's go like that. That way we'll get his eye. Run this in. Take this and we'll run it down. The brush pen's kind of nice because it changes layers, changes the varying thicknesses of it also. So we can actually, that way you'll see thin to thick strokes depending on how long it and how hard it kind of pushes in. Which also helps for making it feel a little bit more organic and not so like it's just been printed out by a computer or mocked up like 3D type. So. Messing up on that nose area. I keep trying to doing it, but I think I'm just trying to make it too tight of a turn. There we go. Alright. And we'll bring him up. I'm kind of doing that backwards for that curve, so it's going to look a little funky if I try and go backwards with it like that. Let's see. I guess we could say, I wonder what we got playing with today. I've been working on some prototype stuff with my aircraft and side of that I do during the day. Working on some aerospace manufacturing, trying to see about doing some parts where I can start manufacturing some parts and getting approvals for that. And of course, if you follow my Facebook and Instagram, you'll see I've been building on a harness for this new glass panel system I'm putting in the Cessna. So, and of course, I've been trying to I gotta try and work on the content more, on building up some content for like some of my my artwork and whatnot, instead of just kind of doing little time lapses like I've been doing. I mean, aside from the live stream here. So, see if we can. Yeah, it looked better when it was penciled in. We'll grab my regular pencil here and we'll just pencil them in this way. Because because you'll lose a lot of the stuff with this. You'd usually actually want to have like a dark gray for a lot of his stuff. Got some nice relaxing music today. Pretty good weekend, I think, this weekend. I got my daughters. It was supposed to be a daddy-daughter dance for school and whatnot, but I asked her and she goes, it costs $40, and she goes, Daddy, we could do a whole lot more stuff with $40 than just have spaghetti and sit at the school and dance. So we can go get in some other stuff. I was like, well, okay, so we'll do that. So this week we're going to go get in some other stuff. Haven't quite decided what we're going to do. We might go to a science place, or maybe we might go to an art place. Maybe go look around, do some shopping. Definitely gonna go out to eat. Take her out to eat. All right, so we got another expression form done up for that. Let's see what else we got. Those are his mouths. Let's go to these type of expressions, because these are sort of these are pretty extreme stuff. Like maybe we can do a couple of these to where we'll see him not so much as profile. Like the top center one is pretty nice and simplistic, and it kind of gives more of a centered approach, sort of like the one in the top right, where you see more of a center line for everything. So we'll do a couple of those, and that way we can kind of just see how just simple it is. And of course, as you can see, still, you can still see with the ears in the center there, they still do that 99, that almost that 90 point. You can actually see the center point where it matches in, to where the ears either go this way or that way, depending on which way he looks. So it's kind of neat how they have that. There's actually, in this model sheet pack, this is actually scans of the actual official model sheets that Disney used for the MouseWorks program. And I believe there's actually some instructions that are actually in it that talks about that with the ears and stuff. I'll flip through there and maybe we'll take a peek and see. We'll show you what I'm talking about. But anyway, let's go ahead and we'll do another circle. So, let's do a circle right here. Alright. And you can kind of see on that, I'm not pointing to my screen, but it should be actually, I should be pointing like over here. You can actually see on that center one, you can actually see where they did the same thing, where they used the line marking on that, to where you can actually see how it fell through, where they actually used it through the entire area. And the way the eyes run, it looks like his nose is just a little bit lowered, so we're actually going to run this hemisphere here, or we're splitting the ball a little bit lower. And then we're going to do the same thing here with it, to where we're going to run it up. We want to probably give it a little bit more to the right, like so. So we'll have we have our crosshair point for that way. And from there we'll be able to go this way. Now you notice it's got the same oval that these had, but you'll notice it's now a little bit fatter as it comes closer to you. So it stays an oval, but it gets a little bit different now. It's a little bit wider. So it still uses the same crosshair point here, but instead of it protruding out so much, it's only a little bit. This is like his snout, his muzzle area. So, and his nose doesn't stick out that way. It's now more in, and it's still an oval. And it's more there. See? And the eyes aren't so dramatically different in the width and the size now, because they're kind of getting more closer to the center, so it's not pushing away. So we'll basically find those with here, the same spot here, so we can kind of do the same thing with the cylinders. Brian, how are you? Sorry I'm late. I had a TPT webinar. It ran way late. Great faces. Oh, well, cool, Brian. I'm glad your TPT stuff is going well. So, just to get you caught up, even though you came in, brother. We're working on showing, using the actual model sheets that they used with the MouseWorks project and stuff that Disney used. So these are the actual scans of the model sheets that they gave the animators and whatnot. So what we were doing was doing some warm-up stuff, showing how they did it with the mostly information I knew. Okay, cool. But so we're basically using this to still show how you can map it out and how you can see it from different areas and whatnot. And we basically had, let's see here, these are some of his different things, turnarounds and stuff I was showing. This is size comparisons for the other characters, so that way they all look the same for when the animators animate their scene. So we're just working on this for warm-up stuff, and then we're going to move on back on over to some of the gesture drawings, and I'll pop a couple of these up so you can see them again. Let me grab them. We'll probably work on the guy. I haven't come up with a guy's name yet for it, but the one gesture drawing we did where we had the pose put out and we made an original character and came up with an outfit. We did that one. This one, oops, that's the guy. Then I did this one, even though we had technical difficulties. This is the one thing that I worked on the other time, where we did a gesture drawing. It was of a girl just sitting in a chair, but even though it was just like any old like kitchen chair or dining room chair, I instead put her in like a futuristic pilot's chair, and I kind of boxed in like a little bit of a hologram thing, like for a heads-up display for her. And we're going to go through a digital, how to set up the digital, the Photoshop to do digital painting and stuff, and we're going to practice with different brushes and stuff. And one of these where you can see and kind of follow along. And this guy I started working on the day that I was looking for sort of a futuristic cyberpunk, but not too grungy type look. So I've been kind of laying him out a little bit more. Running along with it, we'll just keep with this, but if not, we can always change it up. But anyway, back to Mickey. So he's got his eyes closed this time, so we're kind of use the same. We're going to use the same silhouettes, and as you can see, even though it's not totally center, so this width here is going to be slightly narrower over here, but it still curves around and follows that ball shape of his head. So, but it's not nearly as narrow as that one is. You see. It still follows the same thing, and that runs to that. Those drawings look great. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it, brother. I got yours finished up. I actually just got to trim it to where it'll fit into a picture frame, and I'll give you a holler and we'll get together. So, and of course we got his ears. So Mickey's ears, this time around, they're going to be up high. I can hear you, but the screen is frozen. Oh, I don't know. It's been a couple of little issues on Twitch lately. So I know Frontier Man had to moved over to YouTube. Well, actually, he thought it was he also was saying that he couldn't hear, but he actually had the volume muted. So it really wasn't that much of an issue to it. But yeah, well, it happens. So. Back moving on to this guy. Let me give him a little bit more lead laid out. And I'm not choking up on the pencil because it's still pushing it. We're just kind of building up everything to it so we can follow this same line here so we can see how the cheek is, because the cheek's going to run up probably about here, as you can see. But so we want to give that nice happy smile. We want to have that kind of follow off of this oval. And then from there, we can kind of map where the cheek is going to be. And the cheek is going to come up, and it's going to roll around. And you're not going to see his lip this much because it's more to the front. So you're not going to see his lip if he's turned down that way. Okay. I'm going to refresh, and if it doesn't work, I'll go to Facebook or YouTube. Okay, cool. Refreshed worked. Yeah, that sometimes happens. It's just with the internet connection. It sometimes doesn't catch up with all the buffering that it needs to. So we can do the same thing here, where we basically find the center point. And you can visualize it. The center point's basically here, and I'm just going to do this to use the 90 to find the center points for the ears on this one. So the ears are going to be about here. And then right here is going to be the other one. Oop, that one was a little too crazy on that one. There we go. But that's the reason why we're just blocking them in. Alright. And we got the cheek part here so we can see where that cheek hits. So now we're going to use the center point here. His eyebrows really aren't that high, so you'll notice that his widow's peak kind of drops down a little bit, and it's just a nice little curve out. And then this, we can kind of rotate them to our natural curve of our wrist will help lay that out. And we can do the same thing here. So this is going to be slightly shortened because it's curving around the face, as you can see. So we're going to run them that way. And just slowly darkening the lines as we have it. So we'll get this. And his eyes have a little slight curve, just not flat. Give him a little shine part there. Just let me flip over from this, so I'm not using up my mechanical pencil. I'll use my regular pencil so I can get a little bit thicker area on it. We'll do that, and we'll run them this way as well. And we can brush them in. So he's really quite easy, and you'll notice that as you keep doing them, it'll get easier and easier. Go to my brush pen. And we'll work him. That's the nice thing about the brush pen. You can go thin, thick to thin in one nice stroke, and it kind of makes it feel a little bit more. See, I haven't drawn Mickey in a little bit, but even then, from doing these couple little practices, everything gets warmed up and you start to run through it. And it works out nicely. And we'll give him his little, like that, so you can. Just like so. Now we got a little bit more of a centered Mickey head. Take the kneaded eraser and we'll clean up the construction lines here. And just leave some of the shading that we used. There we go. All right. So, simple little thing for that. Now we can so we did what's we got almost a side profile. This is a 3/4 and this is a 3/4 that's at an angle. So this one was straight, this one's at an angle. This is showing a little bit more forward facing, and what we can do is we can actually do that top right one. Let me look at the next page and see what he has for expressions. Yeah, they kind of get back off to the side. We can do the top right one and the bottom right one, so that way you have a total profile and then you have a total front one, which you can see by using the same model build outs. You can actually do Mickey from all the different angles, and it's good practice for that. Now you'll notice that that circle, even though Mickey's head looks more like an egg right now on that top right one, it's actually, if you look at it, you'll see the circle in there, and it's really just them pulling out the exaggeration of like the stretch. The eyebrows are come up, so they kind of stretched, and the mouth's gone down, so that's what causes really the stretch in it. But you're still using the same ball that you would like we did with all of these others. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and put them here. So make sure I got the page in the center area. So do our circle. Like I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to run this in a little bit more than one time around for the circle, just to kind of darken it in so you guys can see it. And you'll notice that he's not straight up and down. He's kind of got his head tilted a little bit like that. So you'll have your front portion for the way to bisect will be a little bit off to the side. And it's not going to be just straight. It's going to still be a ball, so it's going to have a slight curve to it. That way it feels more dynamic and it still feels more interesting and more pleasing to the eye. And his eyes, he's looking up, so it's going to have that natural curve, like it's being his eyes are looking up, it's almost like his head's tilted back a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to find, here's the center point, but we're going to give it a little bit of a curve upward like that. So it's not going to be quite centered. This is going to be slightly longer in the top because it's ever so slight, but that'll give us our basis for where we're going to get the nose and everything else at. And we'll give maybe, yeah, that doesn't look too bad. Okay, so what we'll do is, before where we had the oval here where it was just fatter, now you can see the oval dead on, and that's just going to be basically to get the top part here for where the nose will be, like his top part of his snout. So this oval is going to be here, and it's going to be the bigger part of the snout. It's going to be like this. So it's going to go over this center section, and then that'll help us get where the nose, his actual center of his nose will be, which will be right here. Okay. This will also help us for the placement of the mouth down here below. So by doing that, we have our snout area. So his mouth is going to start here, and it's actually just going to go like an egg, and with the pointed point facing down. And we can just basically, we can stretch off of that his chin. Okay. So this will be a little bit not so sharp to go to a corner. It will have a little bit less of a bend. So, and off of this, you'll notice the eyes have almost the same distance from the center point, because it's almost looking straight at you. Same thing here. Bring it up. Okay, we'll use this area as our reference area because he's looking up and his eyebrows are. His eyebrows are going to be a little bit more tighter on this, so it's going to come up to these points. This one's a little bit higher, so it's going to have a little bit curve there. Okay. Same thing again with Mickey's ears, the 90 degree. Here's the center point. We can do this way, and a 90 degree this way. That finds our center areas of how we're going to do the ears. They're going to be like football this way. Let's make his ears a little bit bigger. And we'll do one this way. Still making it loose. Okay. Just so we can kind of get the layout for it. So, which as you can see, this guy should have been go a little bit more over because I had a little excess on here, but that's where we're going to be able to use this squash and stretch to be just fine. We'll be able to work to it, and we'll put it in just a little bit for our adjustment. So we'll run them in actually like this. And just so you guys can see it easier, I'll clean up the lines on the outside. So we'll have this, and you can basically see here how it's going to run that way, and then this is going to curl down. So it comes up, curls in. Shows his cheekbone down here because it's going down the way his mouth is, so his cheeks aren't going to be all puffy and pushed up like these are up here. So this is more down. And of course, make yourself feel comfortable for the curve with your hand, so you can do your nice little curves and stuff for this area, so you can actually place it out, and you basically work them down to the same area, this portion here, and then you're just going to curl it out. Same thing here, he's going to have a little cheekbone here, so it's going to come out and it's going to go tuck it back in. Okay? And we'll actually run this cheekbone out and then down here to follow down. Are you going to a Super Bowl party on Sunday? I don't know yet. I think there's a couple of invites that I've had, but I don't know. I haven't. I mean, if I go, I might go with my boss and stuff. Because he's a Kansas City Chiefs, born Kansas City guy, and he's a Chiefs fan. So might have to go over there and help him root for his team. So, but I don't know. We'll see. Might do something here at the house. Haven't quite decided yet. How's the basketball stuff going on? They still got the basketball games going, right? Because that's your expertise. You'll be our news guy for the basketball. Anything going on with the Magic? Anything interesting? Do our little circles here. So that's cool. Have fun if you go. Yep. So, but no, I had a couple little. Some people had a couple little pieces for that, but really wasn't thinking about it too much. Got a lot of other stuff I've been working on, stuff on my plate, and here we're doing the same thing. We're matching these out for the eyebrows. So, and you'll notice this guy is up a little high because you want his head to come down. So this first line that I had done here is going to be the right one, and we're going to work Mickey's ear and a little bit better that way. Just like over here, we're going to make Mickey's ear a little bit bigger too. So that way it actually matches his head. So he doesn't look like he's got mini ears. Or mini as in M-I-N-I, not Minnie as in his girl. So, got that. We'll do a little reflection on his nose too. Oh yeah, Magic had won 3 or 4 in a row and then came home and lost. Traded a guy today at trade deadline that hasn't been playing much. Oh, well. If you ain't pulling the weight, guess it's time to go. So let me throw in a little bit of color on, or color, a little bit of a toning on this so we can see the idea. Then we'll hit it with the brush pencil. Like I said, these are just sketches just to kind of get used to the different angles and shapes of Mickey or whatever character you want to learn. You can use these same steps for it. And it's simple, I imagine. And it's real simple to kind of just you can use your internet and find references for your characters, and then this is a way you can practice if there's a certain character you want to draw, or say you want to do something special for that loved one and make a little special Valentine thing. You can always find out the character they like. Yep, trade them to the Lakers. Frees up money for them to go get better guys next year. Cool. So we'll do this. We'll run this in. Up and down. And let's get his nose portion there. We'll run it up. That way. Let's see. And we've got to put his tongue in. You can see his tongue real easy from the front. And of course we'll give him his chin to match now. Up, down, up. And you see I'm rotating the page to where it gives me a more natural feel for when I do my curves and stuff in, to where I'm not tucked in trying to just so tight and choked up on this. That's so I can kind of just hit a little bit more smoother. Because as I'm warming up and I'm remembering Mickey and stuff, I can start to pick up the pace, get used to it a little bit more. But as you keep going and you keep practicing more and more, you'll get it. It will be real easy to do them, or any character you like. Practice is the key because it's muscle memory. And if you train yourself with good habits, it'll be okay. So there's the Mickey that's from forward straight on. So I think we're doing okay. Let's go ahead and do that profile one. We'll do the bottom right one there. So if you guys are following along, that way you guys can see what we're using as the reference for it. It'll match up just fine. Alright, so let's go back to this. Looks great. Thank you, Brian. Oh, where are we going to put the side profile? Kind of used up a lot of the page. I think we might put them over here. Let me make sure that it will show up on the screen nicely. So I'll put them over here. He will be a little bit smaller than these heads, but we'll work it out. So let's got to make sure I have enough space for the nose and stuff, because you'll notice from the side profile it's a little bit different. So what we got here is we're going to do the center points because of the side profile. We're going to do straight across, and you notice how the ear, he looks like his ear is slightly back, so we're going to give that so that way we can already find our 90, because this will give our points for our ears, where our ears are going to run at. So we can do that. You make it look easy. Well, it just takes a little bit of practice, and with the brush strokes, once you kind of get used to it, and you learn how to use your shoulder and your elbow and your wrist for depending on what size circles you want. You're not using this so much. You know, you're not using your fingers like that. You're doing. Let's see. I'll just flip it over. When you do it, it's one thing to say we got a point here and a point here, and you want to draw a straight line down. You don't follow your lead. You see that point and you look down to there first. You don't just follow this pencil, do it slow. You kind of do a couple areas this way, it passes, and you go and you run it down when you look at things. So like when you do that, you run it straight. Now you'll notice that nothing is moving here and here. It's all here and here. So if you see, look, as I'm doing it, you'll see this part moving, and I'll adjust the screen down a little bit. See if I can drop the monitor so you can see my elbow. That's a little bit better. Let's see if we can see that. So when I do this, you'll notice that my whole arm, like this here, it does that. So this basically glides. That's the other nice thing about having this glove, is it glides along toward you're this way. You're drawing down. Because if not, you're holding it up and you're drawing this way, or like if we were doing where you had like an easel and you're out doing outside drawing, where you'll see artists where they'll use like they'll do this, and they'll use the heights and stuff to gauge with their thumb to where they can make proper proportions and stuff in perspective. And then when they draw forward like this, and they do the same thing where they use their shoulder and their elbow for it's like that onto the page in front of them. This is similar to that, except you're not drawing this way. You're drawing this way, and you're just not choked up on it. But you're basically resting here and using this as the glider, and then this is moving the rest of it. So you put this down on the here, and you can actually work on doing straight lines like that, to where when it comes out, there we go, you have straight lines. Probably better off doing that with a pen so you can see. Let me grab maybe something that you can find. We'll try a 0.5 and see how that looks. So it's same thing here. Going to do the same thing with a 0.5, and it comes down. Is that coming in a little bit better? Yeah, it looks like it's coming a little bit better. So you got 0.5s. So that's good practice for you to do straight lines. Now at the same time, you want to do curves. If you need small curves, you can use here. Not here, but here, to where it's like this, like you're wiping that way. So you can go You see how it does the curves. I'll bring that up a little bit so you guys can see that. So it does curves. Now you want a bigger curve. You can actually use the elbow. Lock this out, use the elbow. Bigger curves. Okay? Same thing happens when you start doing with circles, and you start working with circles, you can go like this. It's good practice to where you can do that, to where you can see about connecting it. But I'm not moving any of this. This is staying steady. I'm literally just holding at a certain point, not way down at the tip, but a little bit further back. This is staying all in one spot, and I'm moving everything else. I'm unlocking everything else. Okay? So, simple little practices you can do if you just need to get, if you're having trouble doing simple steps like that, that's a good thing to do. You don't have to do it with a pen. You can do it with a pencil and stuff because you're not trying to show people on a camera. But you can literally go, all right, I'm going to take this and I'm going to use, and I'm going to start doing circles to try and connect it, to try and get rid of that little swirl there. And that's all it is. You're going to, I'm not following this as I'm doing the circle. I'm seeing the start point, how big I want it, and how it's going to end. So sometimes I'll do this just to get the feel of how I want this to feel like, and then I drop it down. So I can do ovals, I can do circle, you know, you can do half moon, another thing there. So you do half circle. Go and help Sharon, be back soon. All right, Brian. So anyway, that's what you want to do in order for it. That's why it looks easy, because I've practiced and done that enough to where when I do lay this out, I'm using that same technique now with this. So, but even as you can see at the start, some of them, these at the start, my lines were a little bit, because I hadn't warmed up, were a little bit not as smooth and confident feeling on it because everything was tight. So, cool thing that way. So anyway, let's get back to, we'll jump back to the profile shot of Mickey here. We have his areas here for his ears. You'll notice that I'm choked almost halfway back when I use the pencil. Let me slide this out of the chat area. Almost off the pencil. Not up here, back here. That's how I'm sketching. So that way I'm not worrying about doing any micro precision stuff. When I choke up on it is when I do micro precision art pieces. They start adding in details like all the little areas here, or like her eyes, you know, or the boot areas, sections on it. Sorry, the light's a little bit close to it, so it's starting to glare a little bit. But that's when you choke up on it, when you start putting in the details. So, but for the rest of it, when you're blocking, just kind of run it this way. Now, some people say not to make too many dirty lines or whatnot, because it can get confusing, especially if you're doing a complex piece. Cartoon characters, they're made to be simplistic. It's okay if you run a little bit over to it like that to be able to just get the look. So, but that's the same way. Nice thing that way. So you got that one, and then up here is where Mickey's other ear is going to be at. So we're going to run him up this way. Try and make him about the same size. This one's going to be this one I think is a little bit too big, so we're going to probably run him up this way and then down. Okay, so we got that. This area is basically the eye line area also to it. Center line, we're going to have the eye line that you can see. Oh, we got the oval. Remember, we got the oval that runs off the eye line here for his nose. So instead of it being tucked in, it's going to be off a little bit more towards the front. So we're going to do an oval this way. Okay. Got the eye line, oval there, and his nose, of course, is off the front. And you'll notice from the side, his nose kind of beakers out, like it almost like the egg portion, the bottom of the egg is tucked into that cylinder. So it runs this way. Okay. So from there, we got the basis for it. And of course, we're going to have his area here where it comes in, and he's going to have the front part of his head as a cylinder, and it's going to run back a little bit because remember, his eyebrows protrude up a little bit. So we're going to have a slight deviation up off of this, so that we can also see where his eyebrows and his widow's peak, or his hairline, is the same area to it. Okay, we're going to use this area here also to try to determine the halfway point, because you're going to notice that his eye tucks in It's kind of close to the front. It's not straight up close to it, but it's just similar. So we're going to run them like that. Okay. So from there, you notice there's quite a bit of distance on it because the way his head runs around to it. So we are basically going to take this guy and we're going to slowly bring it back and follow that same curve. And then we're just going to, you can box it in if you need to, and then come back and do the curves to it to give it that more of that dynamic feel. And then of course here's his cheek. You'll notice his cheek kind of runs this way. But what we want to do is we want to kind of get his mouth set first. So we're going to use this area here, as you can see, to get this initial curve. But we're going to chop a little bit of this off for when his mouth is opened up. So this is going to be a little bit, it's going to flatten out instead of coming all the way down. So that way you can actually see how his mouth runs all the way up here to this halfway point. I'm going to run it. So, and this is a simulated area for the side, so you can still see in his mouth, you can still see his mouth the way it runs. So this is sort of a stylized thing to where you can still see the expression of it even though it's a profile. His mouth is kind of like open to the side like that. So that's the whole point to it. And of course we got to do his chin and his jaw and stuff on it as well. So we're going to do that, give it a little point. And we're going to bring this up. So now you can see how his cheek actually, now it needs to be rounded out a little bit higher. See? And then of course this is going to go back. From there, and then we're going to follow the same curve there. And we'll give him his little reflection on his nose. And let's swap from there to this. And of course we'll just shade this in. Oops, sounds like a dog was wanting something. Alright, so we got that in. Let's go to the brush pen and let's see about inking them in. Alright, so we get the proper curvature of this. Help if we give him his pupil. That way it doesn't look so spooky. We'll do it that way. There's a profile shot of Mickey. We'll clean up and we'll put a little bit more of the texture, and we'll get rid of some of the construction lines so you can see how it follows cleaned up. We'll do the same thing over here with this guy too, so that way you can actually see Mickey in his glory, like that. And we'll just darken him in. Alright, so now we got different angles of Mickey from 3/4 profile, a 3/4 angled type shot. This is not quite a 3/4 because it's coming more straight on. This is more of a straight on, and this is a totally side profile shot of Mickey. So the other one's left is if you wanted to see him from behind. So like if we came like here, like where we did the turnaround, you would see like on the far right side of it was actually Mickey from behind. Which when you look at that, if you look at Mickey from the front on the far left, you'll notice that the only difference is the way the cheeks lay out. See? Other than that, it's pretty much the same shape, same angle, everything to it. What time we got? We got 8:50. Let me grab myself a drink. All right. So anyway, there's our Mickey, our study of Mickey. So we'll go ahead and we'll just that's when we did this study of Mickey study. And that's for expressions also. That's not just like a standard picture of it, because let me go, I'll go and I'll show you like some other examples of model sheets that they have done up where it looks more, actually let me just set that here. Like, I'll grab a Looney Tune one. Let's see here. Let's go to, come on. Let's see. Let's pop them up like that, and let's swap, not the photo viewer. We want, get rid of PDF viewer, open up the web viewer. Here's Daffy Duck. Similar thing to like Mickey was. So you have a main general area of them, and they kind of show like they do a head turn on the top left. You'll see they did a head turn of Daffy Duck's face from all different angles, so you can kind of see how it is. They give you there's little notes to it that talks about how there's flexibility to it, and there wasn't as much detail to it because the Looney Tunes stuff, they had a large thing with squash and stretch. It came out very good. Thank you, Frontier Man. So I hope you guys are playing along too and just kind of goofing off and having a swing at it or a go at it and having some fun. So, but as you can see from the Looney Tunes one, it's all on one page, so where you have a simple thing to that. Hey, Lily. So let me take that off, go back to the PDF viewer, and we'll dig through some more on these model sheets, because this is actually the complete MouseWorks model sheets scans where it has everything. It doesn't have just Mickey. Like here's some more rough poses. Here's his construction. This is where I was talking about, where they give the notes and stuff on it. Like you can see Mickey's body is a streamlined bean shape. Keep body streamlined. So you'll notice that on the right side there, it's the same construction area. You see how we did the same thing with the lines and stuff? So when you're doing the poses like with Mickey, that one big arrow swoop, that's the dynamic figure, like in gesture drawing where you find that one swoop to it. Well, this is the same thing in cartooning and whatnot to it. And there's the same thing I was talking about earlier. We're fighting a head cold. Oh, okay. Well, I hope you guys feel better. And I'll pray for you. And you guys will be better. But also here with Mickey and stuff, like I was saying, it shows that arms, legs taper out at the wrists and ankles. Legs connect at hips. Mickey's hands and feet should be kept large to balance the size of his head. Because you'll notice when you look at most like the gesture drawing or the figure drawing characters and stuff, like for this one, you'll notice that they're between 6 and 8 heads tall, depending on the type. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and a quarter heads tall. So Mickey, when you look at Mickey for his head comparison sides, he is actually 2.5. So if we were to put a body on this Mickey head here, we would actually make another circle here and make a third circle and then cut it in half, just like you would see, and that would be Mickey's total size shape to there. No drawing tonight. Well, that's okay. You can. That's not. You don't have to draw. You can relax as well. Not a big deal. So anyway, this is how to put this into action. Here's more construction and information they had with the model sheets and stuff, where they talked about his zipper, his buttons and stuff to it, or his shorts, the way they worked. They showed again showing the Mickey's tail. They actually, you can see there on the top right, you can actually have, they actually have Mickey's tail length, so that way it all matches everything, like I said, with all the animators. So 1.5 heads long is Mickey's tail. So if you had this profile here with Mickey here, the profile shot, and you had the 1, 2, 3 cut in half here, his tail would be 1. So you'd do like this, 1, and then you'd do a half. And that's how long his tail would run from behind him. So these were all things that the animators and the artists, when they were practicing to be able to just start doing for production, Mickey and whatnot, for this particular character, they had these instructions on it, so that way there was a good continuity to it. It made it to where it was hard for you guys to actually be able to, when we watched the cartoon, that you couldn't quite tell when the one animators or artists animation started and the next one, he stopped and the next one began, because everybody had the same continuity and stuff, and that's why they use these model sheets like this, and it has instruction, and it had all these instructions on it. And this is just Mickey. So when you look at Mouseworks has a ton of pieces for it. Let me see if I can, oops, I think I might have held the button down so it's not wanting to respond. There we go. So these are all different areas for Mickey's construction. Like here even it talks about, the facial imbalance and stuff. Proper positioning of the mask creates, his mask. They're meaning his widow's peak or his hairline goes down. So they consider this the mask on it. So it's not too far back, too far forward, or down. There's a proper layout for it. They even actually show you how it is on the top right there with the actual when he's wearing accessories, hats, helmet, and how it runs around. Here's the thing I was telling you about earlier about the ear rotation, how he actually goes around, why you always see 2 of his ears, and this is how it plays through. And that's where we came up with the whole 90 degree from the center points. Everything has a 90 degree to it. You can do a 90 degree there, a 90 degree there, and it comes off to the center point of the ball. That's the way you do it, and that's the way it always matches up. And here's a walk cycle. This is for the animators and stuff, so they could actually see when you'd have his regular piece, or when he had his scary area, they would do minor changes for his walk cycle, for minor adjustments to the poses, and that's how they were able to keep that continuity. All right, let's see what else we got. We got Mickey here. This is for one of the mini cartoons they had inside the Mouseworks package with Mickey and the Beanstalk. Here's him doing one of his for the dance number that he had when he. This was from an old cartoon actually where they redid it, where he was. I think it was for Valentine's Day with Minnie, and of course now here's Minnie. So we literally had Section 1 and Section 2. Section 2 was on page 29, so we literally had almost 30 pages of just Mickey alone, so that way you could understand Mickey from every angle. So if you've always enjoyed the cartoons and stuff, but never delved in to see what goes into all of that for traditional animation and why traditional animation looked as good as it did, and they use the same thing in 3D. They do, but they're missing the organic actual cell drawings through it. That's why when you watched Lilo and Stitch and stuff like that, they had a blend of it together of CG and cell, and they actually added back in a watercolor type coloring to it, and they actually had to do a lot of training on that with Lilo and Stitch. But here's some more stuff with Minnie that's more pose sheets. Here's her dialogue sheet like Mickey had. Here's her angry. You'll notice the mouth shapes here, when you looked at Mickey's, they're practically the same. Remember I told you the difference when I did the thing a couple live streams ago where we did Mickey and Minnie and showed the difference in Mickey and Minnie was the bow, the 2 eyelashes, and if the coloring for the makeup and stuff, if they put on any like lipstick or whatnot to it. But other than that, if you look at any one of these here, like you get rid of the bow and you get rid of the 2 little eyelashes on each eyes, and you essentially have Mickey, just in a more petite poses and expressions and stuff like that. Here's the same thing with Minnie. More poses they have for her. Notice the construction, 2.5 heads tall. Mickey and Minnie are the same height. Very similar. Here's some same thing, legs connected to hips. And here's another little special thing. Her eyelashes are covered by the brow when she's angry, so she loses the eyelashes on that. And that's what makes it even look more like Mickey wearing a dress and a bow tie or a hair bow. So anyway, some other pieces and stuff to it that they have that runs through. We can go Mickey Mirror, same. Now here's Pluto. We got Pluto's turnaround. Now Pluto's definitely neat because he's a doggo. And here's some more of his pieces to it and stuff. And we might actually, what we might do is, we might do for next week, we might do some Pluto's things here so we can, because a lot of people like Pluto. A lot of people love that. So, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut this short at 8:30. Here's actually how they laid him out for us. You can see his construction line instead of the head's tall. And they actually show you more on it to where you actually can see how tall he usually stands to Mickey. You notice he's got his eye line is pretty much the same, but the way his head is, he doesn't have the big ears up top, so he always looks like Mickey's a little bit taller. It's a neat little way they kind of did that. So anyhow, what we'll do is we'll play with Pluto next week. Is what we'll do. We'll do that for a little bit, and we'll split this up more. We'll do an hour and an hour. So we'll do an hour of this, and then we'll do an hour of the gesture drawing stuff. But I'll still post some of the things that post some of the progress work of that. Of these gesture drawings we're working on for some of these original characters we're coming up with. We came up with her name. Her name's Alana on this one, and we're going to work with these with the digital painting. So we're going to venture in from, instead of doing watercolor colored pencil, we're going to actually go through the Photoshop stuff to set up Photoshop, see how you scan in these drawings that you drew, and how to set up the brush layouts, everything to that effect. We're going to go and we'll go through step by step on that. So at the start it might be a little slow going, but then we'll work through that. But that'll be a chance for the people who are curious or interested in how the digital process is. We're going to work with that, and then we'll experiment with brushes, and we'll see how they lay on top of each other, and we'll figure out if we can come up with a neat look or design. So, but in the meantime, I hope you guys have yourself a great night or day, depending on where you're at. And I hope you also have yourself a good weekend. I hope everything works out well. We're going to have some nice weather where I'm at here, except for I think Saturday we're going to get a little bit of rain. It's going to get a little bit cooler. But other than that, stay tuned to my Facebook, Instagram, be able to see my stuff that I work on and the other things other than art as well. I try to put design and creation into everything that I work on, which is a nice thing. I always like to create stuff. And that's what goes with my same saying of let's create something together. And whether it be memories, art, conversation, anything. So have a great night, good weekend. God bless. Let's create something together. Bye, guys.